Okay, good morning. This is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. This is how you get a hold of me. That's how much the room costs, and that's the extent of my marketing. If you will take a moment and read this. Slide this over. I'll leave this on the screen for 5 seconds. 4, 5. Okay, great. We've done that. We've done this. Okay, cool. So you'll see the zones are set up. So like this would be a zone here. All right. And so now what we're looking for is one or two things. Preferably, as I said earlier, the arrow up, trapped, the plus sign stuffed, or and the last one is the arrow in the direction of when we have speed. Right? Oops, why did this do this? Hold on a second here. Okay, so what you'll see here, I'm going to draw the line. So see how you have this red arrow down over here? It gets stopped out. Those are the best apex traps. Okay, now I'm going to make that big so everyone can see it. Okay, so the alternative to that is as you're going up, if you get a red arrow down, so I'm going to put an arrow on it, or up, red arrow, down, red arrow, down. But see how this red arrow gets stopped out and trapped back in? That is a great trade, okay? That is a great trade when that occurs. Okay, it works the opposite way on the way up. So see arrow up, not stopped out, not stopped out. Maybe this got stopped out by a tick. Yes, it did. So arrow up, arrow on the turn, stopped out, entry. You want up at least 2 bars for your scale, and then you try to push the trade. And obviously, you would want all that happening at or beyond the channels is where it's ideal. Okay, but you'll see even over here where the arrow, where you get the combo of arrows over here, arrow stuffed, right? Stopped out, trap back in. That was at 749, and lift, right? So what I'm trying to do, or what I am doing, I suppose I should say, is I'm trying to narrow your choices so you have an easier time making money, right? The trade location and all that helps with RR, but the trade itself, if you go, hey, I've got 3 options, this is what I'm looking for, hopefully your mind's not racing through the options, right? So before we start, let's make sure we're on the same page. F5, days loaded, 3, okay. Insert, Randy, if you can tell me if we're matching, I'd appreciate it. And do it here. And I'll do it here. Okay, so again, the idea is not to catch 100 trades in a row, just the trades that'll pay us. So you can see up here on the edge, you got 2 things going here. Hey, you got arrow up stuffed, right? That paid you. You got arrow up stuffed on the corner, and it was an apex trap. So the reason why the apex trap is important is because I would expect it to move further off of that trap. Right over here, you get the arrow down. It gets stopped and trapped back into. You don't have to have an apex on it. Valid entry for a roll down. Right over here, see this where you have this arrow down. So the arrow down obviously lifted. This one lifted. This one lifted. Same idea. So you know the advantage is we know that the arrow is printing beforehand, right? And then the next thing is, we want the apex trap. So you'll see over here, you just did not get the apex trap. I do that as a straight line. You'll see it just didn't stop out. But then it does stop out over here. So even though you don't have the arrow down over here, you do have the apex trap back in with a lift up and a significant lift to the upside. If you can't do all that, don't worry about it, right? Just simply turn your attention, right? Turn your attention to what you can do. So most people in the room can do this. see the arrow up, so you have plenty of time. You know that bar up's going to form. You know exactly where that bar down's going to form because there's a range predictor, right here. So let's say I wanted to go long for some reason on that bar, right? Or on this bar. Let's say I want to go long on this bar. I know it closes at 18,800, right? So if you'll look, even where it's jumpy pre-market, there's plenty of time to set up that trade, even on a 15 tick. Now, once the market opens, there may not be, right? Once the market opens, there may not be. By the way, econ-wise, this morning we had Core PPI, then we have Bostic speaking at 12:15. No econ, so I would not trade before the first 10 minutes. Let it burn and do what it's got to do. I'm skipping the first half hour because I will be doing that every day, day in, day out. It helps the room. It keeps people from blowing up, and it keeps confusion out of the room, which is the entire goal. Everything will be driven in the room is the same setups: arrow, plus sign, trapped, apex traps back into those. Okay, that core theory. Now, if you want the highest win rate with the best extensions, everything you take should be a trap back into an apex that has an arrow on it. Okay, I'm going to say that again. If you want the highest win rate, everything you should take, right, should be a close. Don't take this. Take this, right? Stopped out, closed back in, pushed. You're not looking for this, but you are taking this. Again, over here. Trap, back in, and then hopefully over here you were looking for this. Stopped out, trap back in. That is what you are looking for if you want the highest win rate. Okay, so I don't want confusion in the room, and I want consistency in P&L, right? Every day, like overnight, I'm up $449.20 trading, right? That's in my Top Step accounts. I'm up $449. I haven't touched my Apex. And I qualified some Bullinox accounts that I'm going to have to figure out how to trade in the meantime. But right for now, it's Apex, my own money, and Top Step. Top Step pre-market, everything else afterwards, right? So, and I followed the same rhythm and the same concept and the same idea over and over and over again. My other suggestion is if you take two stops back to back, so I want you to hear me and hear me really carefully, right? I am not stop sensitive. I will keep going through my series through the course of the day. But if you are stop sensitive, this is mega important. If you are stop sensitive, my suggestion is you only trade traps. You will still get some stops, but you won't have those bad days. So on the bad days, what happens is we go into trend, we get a one or two bar reversal, then it slams you down. But it is very hard to get the apex trap on a true trend day down. Okay, so if you are sensitive to that problem, that is a personality issue. That's fine. It's not an issue. It's just however you are, right? You've got to make the system work for however your personality works. So here's what people do to sabotage themselves, right? If this works, right, they go, I should have taken this. Let's say there was never an apex trap over here, and it never cleared the high to create the trap, so it sets up here, sets up here, and people go, well, I didn't take either trade because I was waiting for the apex trap. Be really clear with yourself. If that's the case and this hadn't apex trapped, there's no trade for you. There's just nothing for you to do there. You didn't miss anything. If I took it because it was on process. If Ed took it, he took it because it was on process, right? He set his entry, he set his stop, and he determined how he was going to manage the extensions on those trades, right? If you go, hey, I have to have the trap, that means you took this, but you didn't take this, right? It also means you ended up taking this, right? So these two traps, this was your entry, this was your entry, and I'm telling you right now, the traps have the better extensions, except when we're just V-shaping all over the place. The next thing I want to address is the V-shaped moves. There is nothing you can do about the V-shaped moves. I maybe have the hardest time. Uh, I maybe have the hardest time with the V-shapes in the room. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Don't worry about it. It'll set up over and over just as it did yesterday, right? The next thing I want to show is I will be turning my attention to ES to a certain degree when I can, okay? But it is the same process. ES is a little bit different. I set up the zones on ES. Let me copy it over real quick. Chart number 3. Okay. ES is a little tiny bit different. Okay. First of all, you can trade. Here, I'm going to blow this up just so you can see it. And I'm going to go back to yesterday. Okay. This is just middle of the day. The arrow stuffed does work very nicely on ES. It doesn't always show up. Now this is a 4-tick Renko. I don't have all the details worked out correctly, but ES with yesterday's range, the 4-tick showed the best trade, which was great because it lets you set up, and it is not, by the way, location sensitive. I don't know why, right? But here the stop on this is super tiny. Okay, arrow down. That's 67.25 to 64.75, basically a 3.3 1/4 keeps you in the trade, and obviously the RR is there, right? The other way to trade ES, so this, obviously the apex traps on that are very valuable, but in addition to that, you will find generally, if you look for the last arrow up, so this one was just simply traps, so I'm going to not use this as an example, right? But I want you to notice, if you just use that as an example, you'll put down fine P&L. But the other way to do it is you've got to get the point of control underneath the last white arrow up or the last red arrow down. Once you get the point of control underneath, it's a 1-bar stop, right? Just let's call it 3 points for safety measure, right? Entry, and you're trying to get at least 2 bars for the scale, and then obviously you have potential for extension down, right? The other thing you'll notice is when we start ripping down, you have to recognize when we rip down, or you will take stops. It's fine to have 3-point stops, but this is stop. If you look in the series, it's stop, stop. Now, this is where it becomes important. See how it comes back in for tweezer's bottom? And this arrow, as soon as we get this point of control above, it takes off. So the other thing you'll notice about this rip down from yesterday in the room, I said, it's too fast, I'm not taking the trade. So the problem with when it gets accelerated on speed is it gives those little jump backs, right, really fast. And what you had to do, and I'll show you here, is in order to make that area work, because the speed was so fast, right, you had to go to a 6-period bar. You had to add 2 ticks to the bar. And then you will see it really cleaned up. Now, for those who are trading, if you look at that same period now, see how the speed accelerated and nothing gets stuffed? So that makes it hard. What's the answer to that? Well, if you left it on a 6-tick chart, say this again. If you left it on a 6-tick chart, you still got trades. Okay, you still got trades, but what you had to do is let the point of control get underneath. You might have had to take 2 shots at it. And that's how you trade it on a 6-tick chart, is you wait for the arrow, you wait for the point of control to get underneath, and you use a 1-bar stop. Certainly you don't want to close back up once you clear it. So see that arrow up, point of control below, and you do not want it to close against this bar. Okay, so for the long side you would have ended up with this, and this. And then what you do is if you go through too long a period where you're like, hey, I'm not getting any trades, right? I'm not getting any setups, then you have to change your methodology. The 6-tick will have fewer stops, but fewer signals as well. So I'm trying to balance it out. and do the best job. You can see you got a beautiful long coming out of New York Lunch over here. When you do get the arrow stuffed, it's really good. And again, here you see the arrow up, point of control below is this bar, extension down. I believe that's a 3-point stop. $76 to $78.25. So 3 points kept you in. Your entry would have been at 76.25, and your 67, almost 9 points. You almost had a 3-to-1 RR on that trade. I will be turning. I will be adding that trade to my trade repertoire. I don't want to throw a billion charts up there, so let's just stay with the 6 throughout the first half hour, and then I'll get an idea of the pace. The other thing I wanted to point out, and I did point this out in NQ, both ES and NQ, so this is a 24-hour chart, both overnight and US session. But if you take your 50-60 retrace, from swing high to swing low, that's your 50-60 retrace area. We're right in it, and I would expect rejection out of that area, somewhere up in that area. And the obvious place to get the rejection is just above 54.18, where you have this double top. Do we get there? I don't know, but that's, if we did get there, I would look for rejection out of that area and move from there. I don't have, and then the obvious stops are down here, right, and down here. You can see we're doing a lot of double bottoms in the overnight session, so you know there's got to be stops sitting right behind those, with the closest one being approximately 53.4750, right? Where you see those double bottoms, quadruple bottom in that case on 53.4750, you would expect a response in that area. The other way that's useful is if you're trading NQ, as most of us are, right? You got to know if ES hits its stops and it's about to flip, you got to know NQ is going to go with it. It may not go hand in hand, inch by it, but in general, it's going to go with it, and you're looking for your setups there. So we'll be keeping an eye on that just so we have perspective. Does anyone in the room have any questions? Because I am ready to have a good day. I'm ready to take my trades as they come. And we will go from there. I am not trading the first half hour. I want to reiterate that. I'll use it as a warm-up zone. That's how I am trading it. Was I clear on what I'm looking for? And does anyone need any clarification for the day? Yeah, cut down on your number of charts, Dan. I had to do the same thing. I don't know what's up with them, but I had to cut down on my number of charts I was running. And cut all your charts to make sure they're flat, like 2 and 3 days. I agree, Sierra's having a problem. And my answer to that, and I had to figure that out on the laptop, was to cut. Wow, that's horrible. You need to do you have System Mechanic on your computer? Get System Mechanic. It's by IOLO. It's this. It helps my computer massively. So I do this, I run a scan, and it fixes all the connections. It's had a massive positive effect on my computer. It's like $25, something like that. And so then it says I run scan, and then if I want to deep, it says what the issues are, but usually like 2,000 or 3,000 issues show up after a week, and then I'll run it. And then you don't need all their other stuff, just get the system mechanic itself. They're going to try and sell you everything and a new dog. So again, we don't have any, we have Redbook at 755. I don't think that has any effect, just a normal chop chop. And this is red now because what I do, I highlighted that entire 5060 area over here. And we're pushing right into it. Arrow stuff down there on the 15 tick, plus sign stuff on the 24. That 18868 made sense as far as resistance goes. It was a prior day's high. We're at IB high and new highs on ES. We're inching towards the top of that 62 retrace area at 54.1850. Plus sign about to get stuffed mid-channel. 24. Nothing on ES. Plus sign stuffed. Again, I am not trading the first 10 minutes, much less the first half hour. Plus sign stuff there on the 15 tick. Again, too small for me in the first half hour. Tweezers top, apex trap on that plus sign that was stopped out on the 15 tick. Plus sign stuffed on the 24. Nothing on ES.